Hello. Welcome to the Journal Club with Greg Fridman. That'd be me. So today I want to talk about an interesting and maybe somewhat controversial topic that's come up in the recent months. Funding science. So there's a paper published in American Society for Microbiology. The same paper came out in a couple of different journals. And a lot of similar papers came out recently. This particular one is authored by all of the editors-in-chief for the ASM, American Society for Microbiology. And I'm not married to microbiology in any way, just this is the paper I stumbled on. And of course, I'll link it down in the description. You're more than welcome to read it yourself and form your own opinion. So let's dive right into it. It's simple, easy, straightforward, no science, no formulas. Just call for the United States to continue investing in science. So according to the authors, a 2025 Research America survey revealed that 92% of Americans want government to actively work to promote medical progress and other progress, but specifically this being American Society for Microbiology. The focus of this paper is largely on medical science, and me being human and getting sick occasionally and occasionally needing surgeries, I think medical progress is important, amongst other progresses. So since 1945, science and technology have driven 85% of economic growth in America. US prosperity following World War was in large part due to investment in science and technology spurred on largely by Bush's recommendation that the country invest in fundamental research and academic institutions. According to them, as each dollar funded by the NIH, National Institutes of Health, and other government entities leads to an average of $2.46 in economic activity, creating jobs and supporting infrastructure. So this is a 246% return on investment. That's 2.4x. I think awesome investors get 10x returns, but 246? Not bad. I wish my investments paid off this way, but they don't. They're more like 10-15%. But this is pretty good return on investment for our dollars. And where do those dollars go? Medical, we'll go into these technologies in a minute. 9 in 10 Americans want the United States to be global leader in science and technology. I'm one of those 9. I came to this country because it is the leader in science and technology. I am a scientist, and I know me and my peers, we are pushing for US to be the best and the strongest. And we want it to continue to be that way. Many in a survey, or 78% of Americans, are concerned about the standing of the United States as a world leader in science. Me amongst them. Oh, let's look. There's a table of highlights of US government-funded advancements specifically in biomedical sciences and healthcare. And most of my viewers probably would be closer connected to biomedical science and healthcare than they would to metallurgy, welding, and other very important sciences. So in the 19s and early 2000s, we have the Human Genome Project, federally invested, ongoing targeted cancer therapies. You do realize when you say cancer, you mean lots of different, frequently unconnected problems. So when we say cancer treatment, we typically should say which kind of cancer, and many of them are far closer to solution than others. 1995, effective therapy for HIV. 1998, monoclonal antibody for respiratory virus that prevents diseases in infants at risk. 98, first drug therapy for hepatitis B. If you don't know anybody with Hep B, good for you. If you do, since 98, there's drug therapy for it. it's this stuff's important, etc., etc. CRISPR, human papillomavirus vaccine, artificial pancreas. I mean, lots of stuff, including SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. No matter how controversial it may be, we have a vaccine for that stuff now. Malaria vaccines. Good things happen. Recently, with the current administration, I was about to say obviously, but it's obvious to me because I'm in these circles. The grant submission and management is chaotic. Frequently, there are delays, cancellations, unpredicted movements. There's a conference that I'm supposed to go to in 2 months, and it is still listed as tentative, so none of us are buying tickets because we don't know if it's going to happen. It's a little bit chaotic. There are dramatic reductions in agencies and workforces. It's really a tough time to be a government-connected scientist these days. Spending on science in the United States accounts for just over 1% of federal spending, according to wherever this link leads me to. I did my own bit of research, and numbers vary, but they're all coming out below 1%. So 1% seems a bit generous. And US spending is less, and China now leads the world in the most cited publications and number of patents. I'm bombarded with requests to review papers, etc., 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 from journals either operated out of China or with a lot of the editors being associated with China. So China is clearly on the rise, and that comes with funding, and that leads them to become a powerful country with amazing technologies. According to this paper, federal funding for US science agencies already sits at a 25-year low. Okay, one justification that has been used for cutting back public funding for research is the belief that biomedical research should be driven by the private sector. Yes, while its contribution to scientific discoveries is undeniable, the private sector is neither designed nor equipped for basic biomedical research or supporting research into rare diseases whose treatments would not be profitable. That is completely true. Pharma companies and a lot of non-pharma companies, a lot of companies rely on people like me and other US scientists to do all the grunt work, to do all the lab work, and in some cases take it through phase 1, phase 2 clinical trials before Johnson & Johnson picks up the tab. They invest into a well-developed solutions. Very, very little basic research is done. And if we stop doing that at universities, if we stop investing into high-risk, high-return research, well, we're going to miss the next internet. It's nice that ARPA, the Advanced Research Projects Agency, partially funded development of what we now know as internet. What if Russia did that first, or China did that first, or India did that first? That means they would hold all of the intellectual property. They would be the first to market. They will have all of the advantages associated with that. Wouldn't you rather us have that? But that's what this paper is about. My opinion is pretty obvious on the matter, but still it's just my opinion. And don't forget, current funding models have two components, direct and indirect costs, and indirect costs have been attacked. For some universities, they seem to be ridiculous. Like a half of total funding goes into the indirect costs. But those, direct costs, they cover salary for the principal investigator and the grad student working on a project. But what about all of the maintenance technicians, infrastructure related to building maintenance workers, custodians, regulatory monitors, IT professionals, etc., etc., etc. These job losses will have a negative effect on the US economy. For example, Texas receives $1.85 billion in NIH awards that directly support over 29,500 jobs in research. However, these funds also generate bioscience industry impact in Texas of an additional over 100,000 jobs and 7,300 businesses. The economic activity return on this investment is $5.8 billion for the state, over $3 for every $1 invested by the US government. That's kind of big, but you decide for yourself. And please download the paper, read it in detail, follow all of the links from the paper. They're all very good and they're all very educational. You'll catch up on this topic pretty quickly. And ChatGPT and Grok have been helpful for me in doing my own little snooping around on the numbers. Things are adding up, at least for me. And of course, besides impacting the today research efforts, the proposed changes to publicly supported research will deter the next generation of scientists from entering the field. Remember, these funds fund grad students and technicians that later on go to create companies and work at jobs that support development of us as a country, of the future of scientific progress and progress in general. And of course, the editors point out that, we all should try to protect the US scientific superiority over most of the planet and the US scientific enterprise and the future of it. We need today's undergrads to become grads and tomorrow's master students to become day after tomorrow's PhD students, and those to continue carrying the torch of science. And of course, the authors have to say that they're in no way affiliated. This is just their opinion. And it's just my opinion. My opinion, I pay my taxes. And I'm happy that roughly 1% of that money goes to support development of this country and development of the science in this country. I wish it was a bigger number. I don't know how to do that outside of writing to my congressman or something like that, and I guess I will. I'll talk to city officials in my city and see if they can push from ground up for increasing funding for our future, for our kids. And, there are challenges with environmental remediation. Does not mean we need to stop research in this direction. Maybe some of the policies are too strict. Get rid of those. Sure. Or soften them for the time being and drill, baby, drill. But study what you're drilling and how it's going to impact the future. And that should continue. Anyway, let me know in the comments section how you feel about it. And if you want to get more content like this. Take care, guys.